Hello skating fans, welcome to yet another episode of the Global Skating Network, but this one is a special episode because
it is brought to you by Viking Skates. We landed our first sponsorship, thank you to Nils and everybody at Viking, but it's official, we can pay for our own coffee now here at Publique.
V60s.
And we're really excited about it. It sounds like we're going to be getting some product and good little partnership going on.
I'm Laurent Dubreuil, and you're watching Global Skating Network.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think we could think of a better sponsor of the show. I also think there's no doubt that Viking is the leading manufacturer, especially when it comes to blades in the skating community. The Sapphires, the Icons, you can basically see any video we post here or any World Cup skated the last handful of years and you're going to find either of these two blades. They also make a lot of other cool equipment that we're going to feature in the coming episodes of GSN.
I'm excited because I've never skated on them. I'm still on the old Maples, so excited to test out both the Icons and Sapphires and give some hot takes on what we think.
Yeah, also the fact that we get all this equipment from Viking allows us to make a bunch of videos where we dive into the equipment stuff. What length would you need for your blades, which rocker, how to mount them on your skates. It's just a lot of things that takes, some skating knowledge to really figure out, and that's what we're here for.
To start off our new show, we're going to do a little recap of the World Cup this past weekend. Where should we start?
I feel like Jordan's 1,000 meter world record.
I guess we can start with the world records. Yeah, Jordan right off the bat, he won 4 gold medals this weekend. Obviously, that first 1,000 was insane.
That was crazy.
Air pressure, for those that weren't around, was really high this weekend.
Historically bad, yeah, for skating.
Crazy high. And the fact that he was still even able to get close, yet, pass it by 0.3 of a second was just phenomenal. I think everybody that was his competitors, it almost took the wind out of their sails, and everybody else was just like blown away.
I mean, it's less than a week ago since we sat down, the two of us and Lauren Dubreuil, and talked about the world records, and the one that we really mentioned, like, that one's not going to go because it's so fast already, was the 1,000 meter.
Yeah, it just didn't make sense how fast that was, especially on that day. Of course, I guess when you're setting a world record, you can't really expect a draft, but obviously he did not have one, and it was just 105.37. Mind blowing. I've
never seen anything like that. We watched it together. That last turn when he went into it, like, you know what? I'm gonna try to speed up here.
Yeah.
And it looked like he was
still extremely low, like just all the way to the finish, and I don't know. It just looked like he had another gear to hit.
It's a
25.0.
That was a pretty good first lap for most of the skaters in the A group, but for Jordan, that was the second lap.
Yeah. On the second day, it seemed like I think he was a little distracted because he had a really quick turnaround time between the 1,000 and 5,000. Yeah. I think it was less than 20 minutes that he had, so I think he was a little.
He'd also been busy winning the 500,
the
1,500.
Yeah, and he still did win the second 1,000, just not by the margin we saw on that first day.
That was crazy. We saw another world record. That was actually the world record that we did expect to see.
Yeah, but not by the country that we thought or the team that we thought. I absolutely discredited the U.S. team, and so this is my formal apology. I picked the Norwegians to win it. It was just so unexpected. The Norwegians had just broken the world record in Heerenveen at sea level, and also looking at all of their individual times, which we had seen in the past, but just at this World Cup, the Norwegians were way faster in their 1,500s and the 5,000s, and it was by a lot. So the fact that the U.S. team is just that much better as a unit is really mind-blowing.
But it really came as a surprise because we saw them at the 4 continents competition a week prior to this World Cup with better air pressure, being 3 seconds slower than what they did at the World Cup. And it wasn't like they didn't go all out for it. So to be fair, that was a big surprise.
And maybe that was a factor, right? They did have that weekend as a dry run on the actual ice that they would be racing the World Cup on. But that was a huge difference, and hats off. That was one of the more impressive performances we've seen. Yeah. Obviously, it's a world record.
A third world record that maybe went a little unnoticed was in the mixed gender relay. We did expect that one, first one on quick ice, but what a show again.
Disastrous. It's as of now, the format that they use for it is just not good. Not one exchange so far has been reasonable. Is what I'm saying. It's just like it does not work the way that they hope it does.
Yeah.
Now, if you maybe put all men together and all women together, but the mix of the two just does not seem to work out very well. Or maybe if you did like girl, guy finished,
be different. Yeah.
Maybe it would work out that way. But
it has potential. We've seen it in short track, where it's a cool event. We've heard from the U.S. speed skater or short track skaters early in one of our episodes this year that they enjoyed. But I mean, in long track, we have yet to see the first person to cross the line actually win the race, which probably not a good thing in general.
Yeah.
And also it was such an anticlimax when we saw the people race in heat 1, 2, 3, and then the final and fourth pair, we have this cool photo finish, and they finished 6th and 7th because it's based on times, but they skate in different heats.
Yeah, so they'll for sure need to change up the format of the race itself, and then how they actually structure the heats versus just picking a time when it's in a pack race. It doesn't really pan out well. But we did have one more world record, a junior world record in the women's 500. Na-Hyun Lee is flying out there.
Yeah, not just any junior world record. She took that from Femke Kok.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure most of you are aware who that is. And she took it by more than a tenth. So it has now been lowered to 37.35. In addition to that, she also skated the fastest lap ever by a junior girl as well. During the 500.
Yep, she's only an A1, so she still has one more year as a junior. It's starting to sound a little Jordan-esque, but maybe just in the 500.
Yeah, and now speaking of juniors, the Junior World Championships is coming up. They have the Junior World Cup this weekend, and the weekend after, the Junior World Championships. And there is 2 specific events where I think we're going to see the highest level, potentially, ever at a Junior World Championships. The women's 500 meter, we see Dalaman go head-to-head with
Na-Hyun Lee.
And then the men's, or the boys, 5,000 meter. We've been talking about our Czech friend.
Matode.
There it is. And of course, Sigurd Henriksen, current junior world record holder in the 5K. But this weekend, another Japanese 17-years old skated a 6:15, so only 2 seconds short of that same junior world record.
Yeah, I feel like we saw Sigurd do that 6:13, and we're like, oh, okay, it's going to be a while again until we see another junior. But then next year, 2 years later, here comes a Japanese 6:15. I feel like it was pretty nonchalant too in the B group there.
Yeah.
Just throws down.
Finished with a 28.4, so fastest lap across the entire board A B group mixed.
I think he had a little bit left in the tank, so maybe he didn't pace it correctly, and that's scary for the future because if he's in Calgary, maybe he can lower it more. So some more B group results from the weekend. We had a really phenomenal race from Timothy Lobineau, a 6:07, and boy, he went bonkers. He would let everybody in the rink know that he PB'd by that much, and it was really, really good race. But he was on world record pace for a lot of it.
Yeah, for more than a 3K,
Yeah, really crazy. Love to see that he went for it, and congrats on a massive PB.
That was crazy. Yeah.
The women's 3Ks also were faster. First place, at least, was faster than Joy's winning time in A group. So something to watch out for up in Quebec is Isabel Weideman and Lolo. Yeah. Mama Brigida is coming around, skating well and everything again.
One exciting thing that I really noticed in the men's 5K was that both first and second place, Timothy Lobineau and Chris Huizenga, were skating basically the entire 5 kilometer with their hands on the back. A thing we've seen from
Matode, that guy, the Czech young buck that is probably going to win the 5K Junior Worlds.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it could be tough between him and Sigurd, but that seems to be a very quickly growing trend of skating more and more races with the arms on the back.
All 3 of them from inline skating, so maybe that's where it came from.
Probably. One more B group race that I found very interesting, sitting right there in the coach's box. One of the German skaters' suits, zipper, stopped working. And so he couldn't zip up his suit before the race. The team pursuit. They were trying to fix it.
Yeah.
And they couldn't. And so the team just didn't go race.
Why they did not start?
And to me, that was insane. I feel like He had a shirt underneath, so his skin was covered. And as far as I know, he would be legally allowed to go just out there and race, especially if you're in the draft behind one of your teammates. But they just chose not to. What do you think about that?
That was not the Joy Boone mentality right there. I think that's super sad.
She'll race without the equipment. No problem.
It's better to have a DQ than a DNS. Yeah, I also think there's just a lot of ways to try and fix that. I don't think it's the first time in the history of skating that this happened. I've tried it myself where a zipper breaks before racing. You can find pins, you can do whatever. I also think the judges would understand it if you need a second to just like try and fix it. Just do your best here because fast as ice. That was their only shot at qualifying for the World Championships.
Right. Rip the skates off quick. I mean, he had a few minutes to figure this out too. And to me, take the skates off quick, put one of your backup suits on, find a way to at least get out there, take a false start if you need to, which you can do if you're like a delay of race. But yeah, I don't know if there was just not a ton of motivation to do it anyways or what it was. But sad to see that he didn't get to race, or the team didn't get to race.
I mentioned Joy Boone.
Yep.
On a completely different but much more positive note, she won her first individual gold medal. We did see a bunch of first-time medalists here.
And I do want to mention, too, she's coming around. I think, us talking about her previously. No, she's doing great. Won the 3K this weekend, and the Dutch women actually had the fastest time in the team pursuit women from B group. The only two teams in B, but they had the fastest time of the day. So really, really nice weekend for her. Yeah. So shifting back over to the men, for the men's 1,000, want to say something about Tim Prince. We saw a little quote from Tim that said that he's closer, or maybe feels like he's closer than people think, to Jordan Stolz. And he also said in his interview that the 105.4 of Jordan was a pretty impressive race. But the world record is a 105.3. Like he should know. Just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah, maybe it's just a Regabor thing to have a little bit of Jordan beef going on. But
we do like that.
We do like that. But Jordan is pretty quick, and I think, it's going to be a tough one to try and beat him in anything.
Yeah, but Tim Prince did have a very good race too. But you got to know the world record, buddy. So we wanted to do a little shout out to a new member of ours. I don't know if it's a guy or a girl, so we have to say they. But it could be Jean, it's French. They upgraded their membership to the 3rd tier, which is called the World Cup team level. And again, these come with different little perks. And this perk, they get a behind the scenes video.
We have a lot of fun videos for you.
Yep, lots of dumb stuff that we've said on the side in the making of these. And also a podcast that we will be starting once we get enough members in that section. But pretty cool. Again, it really does help us continue with these videos as with Viking. But really helps us to make more and more.
Time for the trivia of the week / episode. Last week's question was...
We didn't have one. We didn't do one. And the video was still 40-something minutes.
Or next week, however, we are going to have a trivia question. And that question will be a tough one. Because we, Mitch and I, and our little group here behind the camera,
it's gave me a crew of producers.
Yeah, we have a company. We did not know the answer. What was that question, Mitch?
The question is, which country in long track speed skating has the most amount of skaters that have done time trials this season and does not have a gold medal at the World Cups?
That is a very interesting question. Because I think it's a really good way to measure how well a country does in terms of coaching, make use of their facilities, and the amount of people.
So add in, Russia does not count because they do have a ton of skaters.
They did not
and
win.
They're not allowed to compete at World Cups. Yeah. Moving on to Quebec this coming weekend. What are you thinking for predictions? Or just overall thoughts on the weekend before we get into our particular predictions?
I do sadly think that it will not be the highest level we've seen this year. I don't think there's been a World Cup this year, maybe even last year included, where this many skaters decided to skip it.
Yeah, I think as many countries have kind of figured out this year, getting from Salt Lake City to Quebec is actually pretty difficult. It's in the same continent, but getting all the way over there is a couple time zones.
Yeah,
the United States is pretty large.
A couple of flights.
Yeah, and then a couple flights minimum. And it's also back to sea level, and so you're going from Salt Lake City at altitude down to sea level, then back to altitude for world singles. And most people's funding and a lot of their livelihood comes from the world championships. So I think a lot of people are trying to put all their eggs in the Calgary basket versus go to Quebec. And
it's a little inconvenient. I remember looking at the calendar at the beginning of the season thinking like, wow, they actually couldn't be any better. But then when we got closer looking at the flights, it couldn't be much worse. So sad that we're going to miss out on, I mean, we already had it confirmed from the different team skaters. We're not going to see Patrick Roast here. We're not going to see Yuta Leerdam, Kimberly Goods. Miho's only skating some distances. Bart Swings, Antoinette.
Yeah, so a lot of skaters not going to be there. I think in the men's sprint side, there's still going to be a decent amount. But overall, the level will be lower. Also, just one side note, Ting Yu Gao is done for the season. He is not planning to skate World Championships after he made all his money at the Chinese Championships. But yeah, really shocking because he's somebody that probably could have won on a good day. He's probably the fastest in the world. So
very few races. He skipped the first half of the season as well. Did not skate a handful of races there. So
he's a real sprinter.
He is.
He's got to pick and choose his battles. So we'll give him that.
Predictions for Quebec. Obviously, the main thing we have to take into account is who's actually racing. One person that we didn't mention here, because it was not initially planned, is Kjeld Nuis. He'll be skipping it. He had an unfortunate crash. If you didn't see that in our memes on Instagram. Also,
he is okay.
Follow us on Instagram if you don't already. He did crash, maybe a little concussion, sore neck, but apparently enough for him to skip Quebec. So he's not going to be there.
Yeah, it might not, maybe it'll be a blessing in disguise for him, just get him prepared more for Worlds anyways, because he's not far off.
No.
Maybe he's far off from Jordan in the 1,000, but I think Kjeld is still somebody that can finish on that podium.
If he brings his A game, he's definitely up there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, should we kick it off?
Yeah.
I will go first with Erin Jackson in the women's first 500. There are 2 500s this weekend.
Surprise, surprise.
Yep.
So looking at the top 5 overall right now, like we said, Yuta, Kimi not skating, so I'm gonna go with Femke. I think when she's at her best, she did really well at Europeans. That's gonna be my pick.
Okay, and then you get to go again
for the
men's 500.
The men's 500, Jordan Stahls.
J-Boy. Okay, I'm gonna go with the home crowd favorite and Laurent Dubois.
All right.
I think he's gonna. He said on our show last week that is a competition that he was looking forward to, maybe second on his calendar year. So I think Larry.
He wasn't far. He was within a tenth of a second off Jordan. So, I mean, home ice, it's going to be close, I think. The women's second 500 meter, I will go with Erin Jackson.
And I'm going to go with Little Kim. She did well at 4 continents there last year, and I think she will skate well there again.
All right.
On the men's second 500, I'm going Larry again.
Damn.
I think he's going to do it.
I'll take Jordan. God, this one is going to be pretty decisive between the two of us. Whoever has a good weekend.
Yep, I think it'll be interesting. I think Jordan is going to be training though, so
that's true.
We will see. What we got next?
1,000 meter women.
Women's 1,000 meter. I went a little risky because we're not sure if she's going to be racing this, but I'm still going to go with Miho as the 1,000 meter winner.
If she is racing, not that risky. That was a hard pick because the podium is basically Miho, Yuta, Kimi in whatever order at every World Cup.
Yeah.
But for this one, I'm going to say Femke. She had her second best 1,000 meter ever here in Salt Lake City, so I think she has a shot, especially if Miho's not racing.
Right. I don't want to doubt Femke, but I just think that at sea level, she's going to die a little bit harder than she would in Salt Lake City. But
that's true.
Maybe you'll be right. Okay, and for the men's 1,000...
the guy that always glides well, Jordan Stahls.
Crazy pick there, and I'm going to go with Zhang Yangning. I think he skated well, just wasn't quite fast enough this last weekend, but sea level, I think he's a bit stronger too.
Yeah, podium in 1,000 and 15. So
the women's 1,500, I went for a long shot, but also for the home crowd, I'm going to go Ivany Blondin.
Honestly, hope you're right. I am going to take Mei Han. I think both of us have some pretty...
Those are both good picks.
Outsider picks.
Yeah, I think that's fun. It is, as far as we know, Miho is not racing the 1,500, so it really opens it up.
Also
Antoinette. It really opens it up to, anybody. I think Joy will be right up there too.
Valerie Melte, home ice.
But
we'll see.
That'll be a fun one to watch, for sure.
Yep.
Men's 1500, I got to pick J-Boy this time, Mr. Jordan Stolz. Thank you.
I'll go with Ning. He was pretty far ahead and somehow, time-wise, way closer to Jordan in the 15 than he was in the 1000.
Yeah.
So, guess he's...
Ning skated well, so I think that's a great pick for you.
Yeah.
For the women's 3,000 meter, who you got?
Irene Schouten. Not good here in Salt Lake, but also her team always gets here literally the day before the race, so I think she's going to be better in Quebec.
Yeah, it seems like she's one of the Dutchies that prefer the sea level for sure, so she'll be back in her comfort spot, I think. But I went with Isabel Weideman. She had the fastest time in the 3,000 this last weekend in Salt Lake City. She had taken a little time away from racing, but it seems like she didn't miss a step, so
she is back.
Also in Canada. I'm taking a lot of Canadians this weekend, hoping that it continues. Men's 5,000. On good authority, Patrick Roast is not racing.
Nope.
So we are taking the second and third options there. And go ahead.
Davide Giotto
and Sander Eitram.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. Women's mass start. Again. Oh, I didn't realize I'm taking Evanie twice, but Evanie.
She won done here in Salt Lake.
Yep.
Like I just said, I don't think the Sandler team came in here well prepared. So I'm going to go with Marijke Groenewoud. Killer flying lap when she is feeling good, and I think she will be.
Yep, that's not a bad pick at all. The men's mass start.
I am sticking with the Dutch, Bart Holwerf, mostly because I did not think of
J1, J-Boy,
Jay Wow
Chung. He won the last one here. He looks really good on that top speed lap. So
yes.
I think he's going to be pretty good. The team sprint for the women. I got to pick first, and I'm going to go with the Dutch ladies.
I'll take over for you. I will go with Canada.
Okay.
Home favorites.
I think that could be good too. And for the
men. Also Canada. I do think, like you just said, Lauren Debray is very keen to do well here. So I think he's going to be in for the team sprint. And then if you add the fact that Antoine Gillinas-Beaulieu
he skates well there as well.
He is from there, yeah. Yep. And he is a person that can, I don't know, do 1,015. They can put him in any position almost. And then, I don't know, add 1 out of 10 different Canadian sprinters and you have a solid team.
And I will take the U.S. men. You know, it just doesn't seem like a couple of these countries are pretty consistently inconsistent in the team.
Yeah.
The Dutch in the team pursuits and the team sprints, for how good they are, they just throw it away so often. I think if they get, it sounds like they have an actual coach that's in charge of that kind of stuff now, so maybe that'll drive them forward a little. But they need some more structure and really bringing those teams together to train more, as is evidenced by the U.S. men we talked about earlier. They don't have quite the skills on paper, but boy, put them together, they're great. And I think the Canadians are a tickle in that boat in the team sprint. It seems like a lot of times they leave their guys behind.
Yeah.
The girls, on the other hand, seem to be really connected.
Yeah.
That team sprint with the arm pull, they've done a great job. But at least in years past, they always had their sprinters just toss the first 200 and leave them out the back. So we'll see if they
different definition of team pursuit. I think really the team sprint especially emphasizes the importance of figuring out the team part of the race because it is just more hit and miss kind of. It goes a lot faster and you don't have time to like wait half a lap and then your coach can yell like, oh, maybe speed down.
Yeah, it's too late.
Yeah,
you make it 200 meters in and you don't have your teammates with you. That third person's going to be struggling.
So it's time to talk about the points from our predictions last week, and I will give you the honor, Mitch, of...
Victor won.
Yes, I won.
For the first time this season, mind you. But our point total from last week, Vic did crush it. 17 points, and again, our point total is 3 points for a win and 1 point for on the podium, 0 points if they're not. And Vic had 17, I had 13, and our guest host last week, Laurent Duray, only had 11 points.
Must be the home ice.
Sorry, buddy.
Home ice advantage.
I bet if he was picking with us this week, he would do a lot better.
That's it for this episode. It was fun having you guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned for some cool races up in Quebec and, of course, our coming episodes. We are pretty busy recording a bunch of fun top 10 lists and other cool videos for you guys. So if you have not done it already, make sure to hit subscribe on the channel.
And make sure you get into that memberships, or at least check those out. Get some fun emojis and some behind the scenes and other fun videos. Also, the last tier is if you would like an individual training program from the two of us, we'll send you a monthly training program for that top tier. So be sure to check those out.
That's it for this episode.